I'm Tom Bowling here at Pioneer Imports and Wholesale. I want to do a beautiful collection for you called True Blue. We all gravitate to the blues, and especially next year, you'll see a lot of that blue become very, very dominant. So you can see we have the blues and the whites. It's such a crisp, clean, spring, summer look about it. So I want to use one of the beautiful ceramic containers, but I want to share with you a little bit of a tip here. Before I glue my foam into the container, what I have done is to line the inside, the bottom here, with tape. This happens to be cellophane tape, wide packing cellophane tape, but you could use electrical tape or anything that's going to grab the surface of that and cover it up. And then when I put my glue onto the surface of the dry foam here, and you can use a glue gun if you like, or whatever application that you're using. I tend not to tape just because tape is not very sturdy. That glues right onto the tape, and now I'm not damaging the integrity of the container. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in here, as you can see. Give it just a little bit of time to set up, to get really anchored in there quite well before I begin my floral styling. All right. As we talked about, the true blue, the beautiful whites and the beautiful blues, a lot of contrast in that. So to begin with, I'm going to take one of the hydrangea bushes, set that aside, and I love the fact that it's got the natural foliage onto it already, so I don't have to add another foliage in to make it covered up and worry about adding additional costs. So when I do this, I'm going to bend the stem, do the insertion, let the stem go. It's called hair pinning, and that way then that product stays in place and I don't have to worry about it wiggling, and I don't have to use one of the pick machines as well to where, you know, cut my hands or whatever that may be. Worry about my customer doing the same. So I'm going to do those insertions. And it kind of gives me a overall interest look here, so you can see it's going to be dancing your eye around on the white. Now I want to break that up just a little bit with with the blues as well. Now I can use a hydrangea, or I can use another flower, and you know, a hydrangea is a go-to flower for me. It just is a beautiful flower. It does a lot of great covering, so I can add additional materials in here, but it gives me those dynamic chunks of color. So keeping that in mind as we're working with the blues, we need to be mindful that, you know, we don't want to get too heavy with one particular shade or flower, because like I said, it's going to really grab the eye, grab your attention, and move on from there. Now you'll notice I have two blue fairly close together here, but I'm going to separate that with some white material as well. So it's not going to be necessarily a chunk of mass of blue here. Now as I'm cutting and dissecting the bushes, I'm keeping those aside, and I would move on to do another styling, so I'm not just putting those back into the, you know, back room or into the silk area, because once they're there, you know, they tend to get a little forgotten. So I want to make sure that I'm completing, using my materials as I go here. So another rounded form, which is all right. It breaks up just enough with the texture. Drop that in. When I put things on the side, I tend to work it down and then let it turn up like it's struggling for the light. And that's exactly what we're doing here, is imitating the way that flowers would grow. Normally we think of putting the smaller flower to the top and the heavier to the bottom. It doesn't have to be that way. Rotating my styling so I develop even balance, visual and physical balance, all the way around. All right, so we see we've got some additional, I think I'm going to use some light blue, and one of my favorites here is the lamb's ear, because it has that blue-gray look to it already, changes the texture. Gray is a melding color. It blends other colors together, especially if you have multiple colors that you're trying to make work and play well together. But in this case, the texture of the leaves are what's most important to me. And I like the form and the fact that now everything's not round, that I get a little bit more of a variation in form. Very abundant as far as the amount of product that's on that stem. So it becomes cost effective for me to use that. And again, you could use as much or as little as you need to complete the floral styling. I can dip it in my pan glue if I needed to, if I wanted to get something in there to be really good and secure. But so far, I think I'm pretty good. So I'm going to eliminate that step and that process. If you are doing that, inevitably, you're going to get those strings of glue. Here's a real good tip for you. Just take a heat gun, plug in a heat gun, keep it far away, and just go around it very quickly, and those glue strings will absolutely dissolve, and you don't have to worry about seeing those in your work. You can use a hairdryer, but a heat gun actually works better because it's more intense in the heat. All right, now just to finish this up, we're going to take and add the lightest blue. These little baby ranunculus. Loving these. The foliage is delicate on them. Everything about them is just ready to say spring. And I'm going to use those in a different layer so I can add some depth and interest into my composition here. So I'm going to let those poke out, kind of like they're playing with the big guys here, but they want to make their own statement. I'm going to dissect where I need to. Longer stems furthest away, shorter stems closer, so I can drop those shorter stems down just a little bit. Break up all that white here. And what I want my eye to do is to dance. I want it to move throughout the composition. So sometimes as you look at it, you go, ooh, my eye can't travel from this location to this location because it doesn't have that color that you're looking for. So that's what I'm adding in here with the blue. Moving that eye, kind of sprinkling those around and ready to go. All right, just one more placement in here. And True Blue is ready for you.